So many of my clients were held hostage by their previous developer. They didn't have access to anything. They didn't know the passwords. They didn't know how to get into their hosting account. They didn't know how to get into their domain. They couldn't access the back end of their WordPress site. The previous web developer didn't give them access. They had hosted it themselves in their name. And in a lot of cases, that developer would disappear, leave the country, or get sick or something, and then they were not accessible. The person had to rebuild their whole site because they didn't have access. And legally, there was nothing they could do because it was in their web developer's name. This is not what you want on your website. This is not how you want it set up. Make sure you take these steps and make sure you own your files, your hosting, your domain, and that you can access the admin account in your WordPress dashboard. It is so important. Here's how to do it. It's not that hard to see who owns your domain. First, you can go to whois.com/whois, and you can look up any domain name. So let's say Shore Leader. I can look it up and I can see that it's registered at Namecheap, which is the company where I purchased the domain name, and it was registered in 2008. You can see when it expires and when it's updated, but you can see that it's locked, meaning that it can't be transferred. And you can also see that the name servers are siteground.net. Now, this registrant contact, because it is a private, it has like privacy things on the domain, then they hide it and they say that it's owned and it's withheld. So they have different addresses. This is not where I live. This is not my address, but it's because it's a private, because there's a privacy thing on the domain, you can't see who owns it. And same with this. This is all because of the privacy. So if you see this when you look up your domain, don't freak out and think somebody's hacked it or taken it. It just means that there's a privacy thing on there. Sometimes they will actually list the name of the person who purchased it or who is controlling it or who is the contact. And then you have the raw data down here. So this is how you find out who owns the domain. If it's not a thing that you can log into, like if I find out that this is in Namecheap, I go to namecheap.com and I try to log in. And if I don't have a login there, if it's not in my account, I need to know whose account it is so that I can get access to that, because that is your domain. If you don't have access to that, if you don't own your domain, you're pretty lost. Then, so usually you can contact the person that purchased it, and if it's in your, if you have the credit card that's paying for it or whatever, and you show that you own the business, a lot of times you can get legal help getting that if you don't have contact with the person that bought it. Then you can go to whatsmydns.net, and then I just type in shoreleader.com and I drop this down to NS and I do a search. And that shows me that this is a SiteGround registered site. So then SiteGround is the hosting company. So I go to siteground.com and I see if I can log in there. If I don't have a login there, I need to ask whoever's name it's under to give me access to the hosting account and put it in my name. Then in the WordPress dashboard, the native login for WordPress is you type in your domain name.com and then you put /wp-login.php. If you have something that automatically fills in here, or if you have a username in your account that's your email, you should be able to log in. And if you can't, you can click lost password and try to see if it will send you a password for your account name. Once you get into your account, you need to make sure that you have admin access. You should be able to see a whole bunch of stuff on the left and not just a tiny little menu, but like a bunch of stuff. Let me go to all users. And if I go to admin, there I am. So now it's showing me my role as administrator. If you don't see that your role is administrator, you need to have an administrator account in order to control your site and build it and make changes and things like that. So if you don't have an admin access role, get one. It's very important for you to own your own stuff. You don't want to have a situation where you don't have control, where you're locked out of your hosting account or your domain. If this happens, it is a very lengthy process to try and get control back. And often you don't have legal right to get control back if it's in somebody else's name. It's very important for you to get ownership and control of all of your website stuff, the domain, the hosting, and the WordPress dashboard. You need to get control of all of those things. All right, thanks. I hope that helps.